Good morning from the United States Sports Academy. This is our weekly program, Sports Talk. And this week, the NFL is embroiled in all kinds of controversies, and we find out this morning that Jameis Winston is up to some of his old tricks. But it's baseball time in America. We're getting to be October time, and we know that this is what it's all about as we head to the World Series. Today, our guest panel is comprised of two really wild aficionados and experts on baseball, both of them here on the faculty and the staff. To my right and to your left is Dean Steve Butler, who is, without a doubt, one of the most statistics-packed minds I know of when it comes to baseball. And to my left, to your right, is Dean Tim Foley, who is the Dean of Student Services, who played baseball at Kansas State University. And we're going to take a look at kind of prognostications going into the playoffs and the World Series. I'm going to ask these gentlemen to make predictions and so forth. But as a background, there are some teams that have already clinched berths that include the Los Angeles Angels in the AL West, the Washington Nationals in the NL East, and the Baltimore Orioles in the AL West. The Nationals and the Orioles actually did it last night with their wins, and their ballparks are like about 30 miles apart, which is really unique. Others in the AL who can clinch include Detroit in the AL Central. They're a game and a half ahead of Kansas City. And in the National, St. Louis, the Central is 2.5 games ahead of Pittsburgh. And the Los Angeles Dodgers in the West are 3 games ahead of San Francisco. All of them can clinch. That leaves the wild card berths open in both the National League and the American League. And as we move on to the program, we're going to ask our two gurus, our two Yodas of baseball here on the campus, to make some predictions about who the MVPs are going to be in the AL and the NL and overall, and then assign winner awards. But first, both of you gentlemen are very serious about baseball, and you have your own ideas about how the season is going to end. So first, and I'll give it to the Dean of Academic Affairs first. What teams do you believe are going to make it in the playoff for the AL?
Well, in the American League, obviously the Orioles and the Angels have already clinched actually the Angels have not clinched the division; they've clinched a playoff spot, so they're in. I think Detroit has too much pitching for Kansas City in the Central, and so I think it'll be the Orioles, the Tigers, and the Angels as division winners. And I think the 2 wild cards are going to be Kansas City and Seattle. And one of the things, Seattle. I think Seattle's going to edge out the Oakland A's. I heard Buster Olney, who may be one of the 5 people in America that know more baseball than Tim and I.
Yeah.
But I saw him on ESPN the other night say that if the Oakland A's do not make the playoffs, it'll be the biggest flop in baseball history. And the reason he said that, even though they weren't as many games ahead of some of the teams in the past, those teams in the past, the famous collapses, the 51 Dodgers, the 69 Cubs, the 60 Phillies. In all those times, there was only 1 team that made the playoffs.
Right.
This year, there's 5 teams that make the playoffs. So if the Oakland A's go from having the best record in all of baseball in July to not making the playoffs, according to Buster Olney, that would be the biggest flop in baseball history.
Big bust. Okay, your choices in the AL.
They mirror the exact same as Dr. Butler. I unfortunately do not have Oakland making it, and that would have been interesting because you mentioned the Metro in the D.C. area
Right.
for last night, and you could see the same in California with the Bay Area in Orange County and Los Angeles. But it's unfortunate, but I just don't think the money ball is going to work this time.
Not this time, because everybody else is doing it.
Everyone does, yeah.
I think the biggest mistake they traded Cespedes.
Yeah.
It was the first time in baseball history the team in first place traded their number 4 hitter. and since what's the biggest problem they've had? They got John Tudor. I'm sorry, not John Tudor. Who's the guy that got from Boston?
Oh, the lefty,
Yeah,
Lester.
John Lester, and he can only help them every fifth day.
I agree.
And the biggest problem they've had since they traded Cespedes has been scoring runs.
Right. Okay, National League. Tim, you
well,
go first.
National League, I was going to say the Senators, but it's not the Senators, it's the Nationals, right? Nationals.
Right.
I have the Nationals in the East. I have St. Louis in Central, and of course I have Dodgers in the West. My two wild card teams are San Francisco and Pittsburgh.
You know, we really didn't talk about this beforehand, but I have the exact same 5 teams. Tim has in the National League as well.
I thought this was going to be an interesting conversation, and it's just a reaffirmation, rubber stamping each other.
You know, Tim mentioned it briefly, but you know, neither one of us picked the A's, but the A's definitely have a good chance to make it to playoffs. Yeah. So we have 3 possible kind of subway series kind of things: the Nationals and the Orioles, the Dodgers and the Angels, and the Giants and the A's.
Well, what would keep Oakland from making it?
They have a big 3-game series coming up with Seattle, and you know, one of the things that they're just not playing very good baseball at the wrong time of the season. I think that as they go forward, I just don't see them winning enough games down the stretch to make it. You know,
while they're filtering through their papers, what they have is a compilation of sport analytics, which some of you may be familiar with, really came to the fore with Moneyball, because it's taking different kinds of approaches and different types of statistics and applying them in different and peculiar ways. We call them sport analytics. And these are the metrics that they used for creating what was called Moneyball. So here these guys are looking through here.
And I'll be honest with you, I'm still a big batting average, home runs, earned RBIs, wins, strikeouts, and earned run average guy. The old kind of statistics. I think that's what we've been using for 1,000 years. And this stuff nowadays, wins over replacement. I can't figure it for life. I can't figure out how they figured it out. I know how to do a WHIP. I know how to do a OPS, but that wins over replacement, I think, is just a guess.
Is that series in Seattle? Or is it Oakland? No, you're talking a big ballpark, good pitching. I think that definitely favors Seattle. So.
Yeah, and the weather up there is
the weather. You don't know what you're going to do.
One of the things that's interesting there, you know, we talk about the wild card, and we just started a couple years ago having 2 wild cards in each league, and so one of them will be gone. One of these teams, or 2 of these teams, one in each league, is only going to have 1 postseason game. So, you know, one of the advantages teams like the Orioles, the Nationals, and the Angels have is they can set up their pitching staffs the way they want, so they have their best pitcher pitching game 1. One about the wild card is if you use your best pitcher to win the wild card game, which you obviously have to do because it's one and done, then that pitcher isn't available usually till game 3 or 4 of the divisional series. But one of the things that's been interesting is that 4 times in the last dozen years, a wild card has won the World Series. And another thing, even though they're not wild cards, another thing that seems to happen quite frequently is the teams that clinch early, they tend to take their foot off the accelerator a little bit, and the teams have to battle right up to the last day of the season. They go into the playoffs with more momentum, and sometimes you'll see the number 1 team get beat fairly on. So that's why I think the Dodgers are in good shape, because they're going to have to battle the Giants all the way to the end.
So, who's your pick to win the AL pennant?
California Angels.
Excuse
me.
You're such a
Excuse me. Anaheim Angels of Los Angeles.
He's a homer.
Dude's from Southern California.
All right, who do you pick?
I'm going to pick the Anaheim Angels.
All right, and you spent time in California. What about the National League?
Tim's not going to pick the Dodgers. I'm rooting for the Pirates and the Giants. But I think they're going to play each other in a 1-game wild card series. I honestly think teams have proved over the years that when it comes postseason time, you only need 2 really good pitchers, and the Dodgers have 3. I think when you go with Kershaw, Greinke, and I'm going to pick the Dodgers to win it all.
You're picking the Dodgers to win it all, because that's my next question. Yeah. You're picking the Dodgers to win the World Series against who?
Against the Angels.
Against the Angels.
And I'm going with the Angels. I might go
Against
Mike
who?
Dodgers.
Against the Dodgers.
Hey, we finally
How
hit the
many
screen on
games?
something.
How many games?
I think it's going to go 7. Kershaw is going to pitch a complete game shutout in Game 7.
6.
6 games. All right. There you have it. You heard it first here. All right. Now we know who's going to win the World Series, the Dodgers or somebody else out there on the left coast.
The best coast. I'm sorry.
Who are your candidates for MVP in the AL, the NL, and the Cy Young Award winners?
Well, I think we don't really need to discuss the MVP in the American League or the Cy Young in the National League. Anybody who doesn't vote for Mike Trout for MVP in the American League or Clayton Kershaw for Cy Young in the National League should permanently lose his right to vote. I think I don't even think we need to discuss those.
Okay.
What do you
I,
think?
agree. I second that. No discussion there.
We may get a little discussion on the NL MVP.
Yeah.
Because if I had a vote, I would vote for Clayton Kershaw. And I hear the arguments all the time where pitchers only pitch every 5th day. They don't have that much influence on the game as an everyday player. I think unless Giancarlo Stanton's obviously the other strongest candidate, but if you look at it realistically, Giancarlo Stanton has had 638 at bats this year, and Clayton Kershaw has faced 693 batters. So the fact that Giancarlo Stanton has had that much more of an impact on the game, I don't think holds water when you look at those numbers. Johnny Cueto, who leads the National League, has actually had 903 batters faced. So it's a big thing there. And I think a pitcher affects a team more than just the day he pitches. He affects the team the day before he pitches. He affects the team the day after he pitches because they pretty much know they're going to get 8 innings from Kershaw, so they can save their bullpen the day before.
Okay, so you're saying Kershaw for Cy Young and MVP in the NL?
Correct.
Okay.
And that's a tough argument, but I'm going to go with Stanton. I still like the position player.
Stanton in the NL MVP?
NL MVP, and I'm probably the guy who took one in the face, which he's still alive, so it's a good year for him. And I'm amazed at some of those balls he has hit, but I'm going to go with Stanton as the NL MVP.
And Cy Young also?
No, Cy Young, Kershaw, MVP, Stanton.
Okay.
And I would have no problem with Stanton.
Yeah.
I as a position player myself, I kind of understand the argument of position players, but I think this year that Kershaw has truly been the most valuable player.
He's done an awful lot. Well, gentlemen, we've run out of time again, and I hate it, but
We still have to pick the
American League,
well,
Cy Young.
beg your pardon? American League. Well, American League MVP is Mike Trout. Okay. American League Cy Young. Your
You can
choice.
go first.
Mr. Seattle. I believe his name is King Hernandez. Felix Hernandez.
He won it a couple years
And
ago.
it's interesting because there's another left-handed pitcher by the name of Chris Sale. I'm glad I've never had to face with almost identical statistics. However, he's got 31 starts versus 24 and 214 innings over Sale's 163. So
That's the American League. Right?
that's the American League
You know who
side.
leads the American League in wins?
Who?
Pitchers. Jared Weaver.
Jared Weaver.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going to vote for. I don't think Chris Sale's going to win it because he plays Chicago and they're horrible.
Mm-hmm.
The White Sox are terrible this year. But if I had a vote, I guess I would vote for Felix Hernandez as well.
Okay. All right. National League.
Kershaw.
Unanimous. Okay. Good.
Last two things, Rookie of the Years.
Rookie of the Year.
American League, it's pretty simple. Abreu for the White Sox, right?
Yeah.
Jose. National League, I got two candidates,
Everybody says it's between Billy Hamilton.
and the pitcher. Interesting stat about the pitcher is win-loss percentage is .571, and the team he plays on is .483. So I'm going to go with Hamilton.
And he did something the other night. He struck out the first 8 batters of the game 2 nights ago, DeGrom, and then the pitcher got a hit. The ninth batter. We were fortunate enough to see Billy Hamilton play in Pensacola 2 years ago, and he had like 4,000 stolen bases in Double-A. but I think he's got 56 stolen bases right now, and the dude can fly.
And he's got a good swing.
Okay.
You know, even it's what 6
I'll play homer and go with Billy Hamilton.
Okay. Well, I guess that does it. You heard it here first, and hold them responsible. I want to thank you for tuning in to the United States Sports Academy Sports Talk here on our campus in Daphne, Alabama. Even though it's heading into the World Series, we've got an important college game tomorrow night. The Auburn Tigers go to Kansas State University, where
Go Cats!
Go
War Eagle.
Cats! Auburn guy here, Kansas State guy here. And it's going to be exciting. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your suggestions. Keep them coming in. Sports Talk at ussa.edu. We'll see you again next week, same time.